And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Doug Haynes, our Vice Provost for Academic Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, to give a short welcome from UCI.
Thank you, Simon. I am so delighted to be here. This is a very exciting event. When Simon described it to me, I have to say at first I wasn't quite sure. But over time, as it developed and gathered momentum, it became quite fascinating and intriguing to me for a variety of reasons. But I'm here today to bring a welcome and well wishes from Howard Gilman, our Chancellor, and Enrique Lavernia, our Executive Vice Chancellor. You couldn't choose a more beautiful day in Orange County to launch an unprecedented gathering of researchers and scholars, thought leaders and public intellectuals, and cultural producers. A brief review of the program describes the breadth of the subject, spanning planetary changes in the environment and their impacts globally and locally, to the production and circulation of the cultural knowledge and technical innovation of Pacific Islander peoples and its relevance today. These subjects matter to this campus. Our faculty and students are engaged in research that is shedding more light on human-derived climate change and are working with a broad and expanding coalition of people to reverse these adverse effects. Moreover, our campus is now a federally designated Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. We received this designation from the Department of Education in 2016. And it represents and recognizes not only that we are proudly serving the diverse residents, high-achieving students of this great state, but also that as a campus we are committed to the proposition that promise, talent, and achievement are broadly distributed and represented in our society, and part of our task as a public land-grant university is to mobilize that talent, educate young people, and launch them into the world to make it a better place for all of us. The conference presentations help this campus to model our aspiration to be a campus where Anapisi students actually thrive and go on and do great things. So finally, I want to welcome you again, and I want to bring Simon back up to continue the program.
Thanks so much, Doug. I'm going to cut to a quick introductory talk, which is essentially a kind of contextualization of the sorts of things we might be talking about in this interdisciplinary event. Oh dear, hold on. Here we go. I've got the wrong slide already. Welcome. So, an ocean of knowledge, Pacific seafaring, cultural survival and sustainability. It's a mixed bag. And since it's well known that Americans don't score well on geography quizzes, I thought we'd orient ourselves with a map or two. How's this for your part? Get used to it. Can't relate to that one? How about this? That's about 2/5 of the world's circumference from Singapore to Ecuador. This is what the world's really like. With Australia top dead centre. Maybe this perspective is one you're more familiar with. Perhaps not. And this one particularly annoys me, and this is one of the themes which really drives me in this event. Pacific Rim. I'm so tired of hearing people talk about the Pacific Rim as if there's nothing in the middle. We're here to talk about what's in the middle. There's a lot of stuff in the middle. Turns out our planet is mostly water, and most of it is in one very big ocean. which is the ocean we're talking about today. Now, it's interestingly quite difficult to find maps that show the oceans as places and land masses as empty. Right? Because Westerners, we tend to be fairly terrestrial types. There's a nice quote here from Paul Theroux: "The vast Pacific, each island like a distant star, each archipelago like a galaxy." And this is one of the approximations of the way people moved into the Pacific. I know that these maps are contested, so let's just look at it in broad strokes. But we can see that over around 4,000 years, people moved out into the Pacific and built cultures and developed strange and sophisticated craft. Interestingly, the Austronesian peoples also travelled down into the Indian Ocean. This is quite obviously an asymmetrical outrigger craft, very like the Pacific craft. This happens to be in Sri Lanka. And then, of course, the Europeans arrived. In this case, firing their blunderbusses at indigenous people, as they so often did. This is an instructive map of the division of the Pacific Islands into colonial zones. And I know that our guests who have come from these regions continue to experience the problems that were created by these imposed borders and structures. Other things have been happening. Let's not forget. By the way, those little lumps there, naval ships. There's another little ship in there. The British conducted nuclear testing in the Christmas fireworks. And the French, of course, detonated 180 nuclear weapons in a space of 30 years. As if there was nobody there. And now Kim Jong-un is threatening to detonate a thermonuclear device in the Pacific as well. On a more positive note, it was in 1976 that the Hokulea proved the viability of indigenous navigation by sailing from Hawaii to Tahiti, nearly 2,500 miles each way, with Nainoa Thompson as skipper and Mal Ilog as navigator. That's an interesting story. And more recently, there's Mal, who came from Micronesia. His son is here with us this week. And that really represents the beginning of the Renaissance, I would say. Excuse me, I'm speaking authoritatively, but I know I'm an outsider and an amateur. I'm ready to be corrected, and I want to make it very clear that I'm here to learn over the next 2 days as well. So there's the Hokulea in New York in 2016 as part of its global circumnavigation. Returned to Hawaii in June this year. And the Hokulea had a mission. And the mission was to spread a message of caring for and respecting the earth. We've got a lot of work to do. This is Kiribati. and news just this week of increased Antarctic melting, more rapid and in different ways from what was suspected in the past. A UCI colleague was part of this study. So there's a lot going on that is directly implicates our neighbours in the Pacific. So this event is happening because of the generosity of several sponsors: the National Science Foundation, the UCI Oceans Institute, the Newkirk Centre for Science and Society, which is a UCI entity, UCI Illuminations, the School of Humanities, who are providing us with these premises, the Claire Trevor School of the Arts, who are providing us with the Overflow Theatre, and our esteemed presenters, Associate Director Sylvia Frayne, who I'll ask up in a minute, who's put countless hours without pay into this project and without whom this event would not exist. Our web manager Julie Lim and graphic artist Eleanor Goulden, both also operating in a volunteer capacity. Kathy Thomas and John Medina from the art department, who've been wonderful in working with us on logistics and financial issues, etc., etc. I say welcome to you all. I hope you find the next 2 days informative, useful, and hopefully exciting. I want to say that as a kind of caveat, we've put this event together on a shoestring, and most of our funding has gone to support the travel and accommodation of our presenters. We're embarrassed in a good way by the interest in our event. We have nearly 3 times our expected registration, although they're not all here now. I'd like to know where they are.
For the film screenings.
Yeah, so we do have an overflow room for the panel sessions, which is right through that door, 1002. We are catering 2 dinner receptions, but we are not catering breaks or lunches. There is food and coffee, etc., available in a very short walk in 2 directions. The University Food Court is just around the ring road that way, and the Green Room Cafe in the Arts Quadrant is just over the footbridge over here. So we had funding to cater for about 80 people for the receptions. It's difficult to ask this, but if you did not register before October the 3rd, or if you're not a presenter or an official guest, when the receptions happen, if you could stand back or find your refreshments elsewhere, that would be much appreciated. I'm sorry to have to ask that. And because I understand, because this is a university campus and people will be moving in and out, if you're not coming back, leave your registration badges at the door and we'll reuse the slides. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Sylvia.
Thank you, Simon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good day, Kiora, Yanakoto. My name is Sylvia Frayne. Recently, Dr. Sylvia Frayne. I finished my PhD at the University of Otago on the South Island of New Zealand in Aotearoa. I am originally from California, hence the accent. And I just wanted to say that this has been an amazing project and journey, and I feel so honored that many of the people who helped me so effortlessly and time again for my doctoral work and my studies are now able to come here today and have been willing to share their knowledge and their experience in this type of setting. So I've communicated with many of you online via email, and I'm happy to continue any dialogue. If you have any questions or issues or anything over the next 2 days, please come and find me, and we'll work through whatever it is that you're asking. At this time, I would like to invite a dear friend and a daughter of the Marianas Islands in the Pacific, Mineka Dioro, to come up and begin this session with a blessing and recognize all of the wonderful knowledge that is here today in this room. So, Mineka, if you could come and join us. and around and directly behind us here. So if you need to find those. Hafide, Mogathin, Ali, Yokwe, Rananim. Those are just a few ways to say hello, greetings from the Micronesian Islands. Wakusi Manyaka Dioro, Hagen, Vera is an art bureau, Tal Tal Guam. Malaguzu by Ofresi I Lotla, Zani Nasahi Ginini, Tal Tal Mantamoru. Finetana by Onras and I Menmofonana Tal Tal Gwini, I Tongla. Zan who Finaitai Estina Opushan. Hello, my name is Manaka Dioro. I'm from Guam. I recognize who my parents were as well, and I want to offer a little chat with some other of my brethren from the Marianas. And I also want to acknowledge this space and the ancestors of this land, the Tongva, the indigenous people of this land, and hope that the next few days that we uplift and honor the sacred ancestral knowledge of the ocean, and that we remember the creatures in the ocean, and that we think of them in our actions, and that we do all we can to make sure that life in the ocean lives on. If you don't mind, can we get up and kind of create a little circle? I'm gonna ask Parker Yobe, is he in the building right now? Oh yeah. We're going to share a little song from the Marianas. It's called Unuhit, and it just means we are one. And it's just acknowledging the fact that we are one with the earth, with the sky, with the sun, with the sea. That we are part of this land. And yeah, may we keep this spirit going in all that we do.
See